today we're going to talk about tropes. I haven't done a trope video, and I've seen a few, and I enjoy thinking about them, so why not talk about them? I'm sure you have favorites and ones you detest. Maybe some are like things that are a definite turnoff, like if you see that in a book, you're like, it's an automatic no, I won't read it, or on the other hand, maybe it's an automatic yes, give it to me. I've made this like random list of tropes. It's in no particular order, just as I kind of thought of them. So we're gonna like go through it, right? We'll start with the probably most popular and or least popular, depending on who you are, a very common trope, and I guess I should say common to romance novels in particular, although I guess this appears in other kinds of books as well, but that is the enemies to lovers or rivals to lovers trope, which I have to say sometimes is a little bit, I don't dislike it. I love that bit of tension, but it has the potential to lead to kind of a meanness or an abuse between the two characters that can make them unlikable to me or make me feel like there are red flags in the relationship, that this is not a relationship that should like happen because these people are being like so incredibly mean to one another. I'm all for the banter and the tension, but when we get to like borderline abuse, it's a no from me. I tend to like rivals more than full-out enemies. I don't know that the distinction is super strong, but I prefer people in sort of a pseudo-competitive situation rather than I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't read the kinds of like fantasies where there are actual like enemies happening. But yeah, I do like this trope. I just don't, there are some boundaries there for me. And it kind of bleeds into the alpha male protector kind of thing, which is an automatic no from me. I don't read those books because I can't invest in the idea that this guy, even though he's gruff and outwardly kind of controlling, and it's just that he's protective and he's really got a soft heart, or she's gonna change him and make him a better. No, I can't. There's too many red flags. There's too much potential for like actual abuse, emotional, physical, whatever. So it's not for me. Meanwhile, friends to lovers, which is so sweet. It's such a sweet idea. But it does lack a certain amount of tension, I feel. Like, I have a hard time being excited about it because they're already friends. Like, I'm sure there are other conflicts. And again, all of these are going to have exceptions where people go, well, what about this book? Or what, I'm like, yeah, no, there are good versions of any of these, almost any of these. I'm not sure there's a good version of an alpha male for me. I've never found one, nor am I particularly looking for one. So don't bother recommending one because I won't buy it. I just can't. I don't know. But Friends to Lovers is sweet and cute, and you can do the thing where they each have, like, they're trying to find someone, but it's clear they should be together. You can do it well, and it can be really sweet. I tend to, I believe that there should be more just friendships in books, platonic friendships. I don't feel like every book needs a romantic element, which is kind of what I tried to do with Ghosts of Marshley Park, where Jade tries to initiate a relationship with Julian, but he's kind of not into it, and by the end of the book, they're really just friends. Although I've had people say, oh, it's so romantic, such a romantic book, and I'm like, I didn't write it with that intention, but I'm glad you found it that way. It's open to interpretation. So, another One is the forced proximity. You're stuck together somewhere, or the single bed in the room thing, which I do think, again, it requires a certain amount of being convoluted to get to that point. There usually has to be, I don't know. A lot of times, the way things have to be set up to get to a point in a story, it can sometimes just be so over the top or so unbelievable that it just gets ridiculous, and then I can no longer really... I mean, sometimes it's funny and it's cute and I'm willing to let it go, the belief, but a lot of times it just feels like it's so constructed in such a way. I don't know. I'm like, you could have done these 5 other things to get out of this situation if you really wanted to. Like, I guess, Anyway, so I can be done well, but it's a lot of times overdone at this point. I know a lot of people love this trope. We're stuck in a cabin together and we've got no cell signal and it's gonna snow, or whatever. But it's not something I seek out. It's not something I'd say like no, never, but it's not something I look for in a book either, and I'm perfectly fine if it's not there and there are other things going on. Fake dating. Again, like, it feels like you have to kind of create this whole like situation, and I'm just how often does this really happen that so many books have this like fake dating thing? I'm like, this is not a thing, really? But I'm probably asking for too much like real life stuff in my books. Fake dating is fine. Again, I don't go looking for books like that. If other things about the book sound interesting, I'll read a fake dating book, but I wouldn't pick one up just because it has fake dating in it, because that's not my thing. Insta-love versus slow burn. I'm always going to go for the slow burn. I love some angst and some like heart-wrenching stuff. Like love at first sight doesn't do it for me. I can understand like seeing somebody and having an instant connection, but then I want to see some work to get there. I don't want just them to fall into each other's arms. Again, there's kind of a lack of tension. Even in like Romeo and Juliet, like they see each other and they're instantly in love, and the conflict is that their families are fighting, and I'm just like, nah. I'm not, I don't know. It doesn't work for me. I definitely will give me some slow burn angst like stuff. The chosen one trope. No. Again, kind of over it. And at the same time, here I am writing The Switchgrass Crown, which is a version of The Chosen One. I think, you can cast a pretty broad net over what a Chosen One story is. And while I'm not any big fan of like a Harry Potter or a high fantasy kind of Chosen One story, again, I don't read a lot of high fantasy anyway, but and here I loved Dune, and isn't Paul more or less a Chosen One? Sure. So I guess there are times when I like it, but I do feel like after Percy Jackson and all these other long series with these main characters who are clearly Chosen Ones, like Harry Potter, I don't know, I'm over it. I'm over that. I also feel like they're often a little bit too overpowered, and that just isn't very interesting to me. I have that issue with like superhero movies and stories too, where I'm like, they're just like, what's the point? But anyway, that's a whole other thing. The love triangle, which can mean like, one person trying to decide between two people, I guess, or maybe all the people are trying to decide amongst themselves who goes where. I am working on that in the sequel to The Switchgrass Crown, so I can't say I hate a love triangle. I just think that it is often done really poorly, with like for somebody who likes angst, I feel like there's often a lot of unnecessary agonizing over this decision between two people kind of thing. And I don't know, maybe the melodrama doesn't work for me. Like, give me angst, but not melodrama. Is that possible? I don't even know. But that kind of goes along with the quirky, not like other girls, not like other guys kind of thing, where I just, no, because I feel like that sets up a silent judgment against people who are different, and or people who are normative and you're, not normative. And while a lot of people identify as being outside, and therefore those kinds of characters draw readers in because they're like, oh, I see myself in this person because I also feel like I'm not, like the typical. The truth is, we're all different. We're all not like other people because we're all unique. And please get over the whole, just stop. And I see this as somebody who is neuroatypical. I'm on the autism spectrum, and, I get it. I get quirky as something that, could be fun to read. But again, like, I just feel like it's so overdone, and it sets up this whole, I'm better because I'm different. Even if it's not stated, there's kind of this feeling of it, and I just don't think we need that in stories. I just think be you as a character without making your character out of being different. Like, it's make your character as a character as opposed to making your character out of the negative space of what they aren't, which is not like those other people. Like, does that make sense? I don't even know if that makes sense. But anyway, that's how I feel about that. Grumpy and Sunshine, which is one of my favorites. I'm sorry, it really is. I do just love. I mean, if you've read Drew and Ray's, it's not quite Grumpy Sunshine, but Drew is very much golden retriever, happy-go-lucky. Ray's is much more serious, a little more cautious. So, I love mismatched, I guess, love interests. Those are my favorite, when they're like different but they complement each other. It's what I liked in Carry On with Baz and Simon. So yes, give me Grumpy Sunshine or any other kind of mismatched like pair. That's one of my favorites. Found Family. I don't dislike it. I don't look for it. I've read books that are sweet, like, okay, House in the Cerulean Sea, House by the Cerulean Sea. Anyway, I read that. I understand why people like it. I didn't think it was that great personally, but that's just me. Yeah, I have a video about it somewhere, but like the found family aspect, again, I think it goes back to feeling like an outcast, finding people who understand you, or even if they don't understand you, they still care about you. I can see the draw. It's not, like, for me, a huge thing. Like, I'm like, oh, I love a found family story, but I don't necessarily dislike it. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm indifferent, but I kind of am. I don't know. Forbidden Love, like Star-Crossed Lovers. I used to be super duper into like soulmate kind of stories where it's like kind of the meant to be. I'm kind of over it. I think I overindulged in it maybe. But like there is a time and a place for that. I think it's often done poorly as opposed to well. So when I see something with like a star-crossed, forbidden, fated love thing, I hesitate a little because I used to love the idea of it, but I think a lot of the books I picked up that had that element were not great. So, yeah, I don't know. I would have to really consider if I saw a book that was about fated love or star-crossed lovers, I would probably hesitate. I mean, read a sample, see if it sounds good, but I don't know. Might be a little bit of a turnoff for me now, even though it's something that for a long time I was really into. No happily ever after, happy for now. I don't mind that. I mean, obviously in a romance novel, I would like my happy ending of some kind. But I say this as somebody who, when I write romance, I do write those endings, but a lot of my other books have ambiguous or bittersweet endings, because I love that. I do love a little bit of melancholy in my stories, so that plays into my writing, and it definitely is something that I enjoy when reading too. Although, again, some genres I really want my happily ever after, my happy for now, and that brings us to major character death, which kind of plays into a possible lack of happily. I mean, I guess you could have somebody die and still have a happily ever after, but there's going to be some bittersweet stuff going on there. If you've read, so Ghosts of Marshall Park, obviously they're ghosts, so they're dead anyway. But if you read The Switchgrass Crown, even in The Fall and Rise of Peter Stoller, there's at least one character. I don't know. He's not a major character, but at least a moderate character. I don't know. Mid place character. And then like Switchgrass. So I don't shy from characters dying. I enjoy the emotional impact that it has on the other characters. I don't think I've written one where the main character dies. I don't think so. I have to really go through my catalog. I've got a very long writing catalog, so I'm like, there was definitely a time when I was, as a teenager, when I was writing as a teenager, then yes, I was very interested in if somebody dies, what's the reaction? What are the feels? And I still enjoy that. I enjoy the angst that's involved in something like that, and the little bit of, I like a little tragedy in my story, so I enjoy the bittersweet stuff, so I'm not against a major character death. Yeah, that doesn't die. I actually enjoy that pretty great. I mean, even in the Song of Achilles, which, if you know the story of the Iliad, then you know where that goes. And yeah. I don't know. I dig that. I like that kind of thing. So where does that put me? That puts me with Grumpy Sunshine and kind of bittersweet angst, character deaths as some of my favorites, and kind of everything else coming down after that with things like alpha males and stuff like that, and insta-love as my least favorite, my turn-offs, quirky characters who set themselves up, in contrast to everyone else, which is just, again, to me, a subtle way of saying I'm better because I'm different. Even if they claim otherwise, even if they're oh, I'm so clumsy and I'm so plain and all this stuff, it's almost as if the story is just setting that up to negate your own, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not explaining it well, but I don't like it. Don't do it. Don't do it in your books. Yeah. So anyway, those are some tropes that I thought of, and and then the misunderstanding, miscommunication trope, which is a big part of a lot of these. It usually is the underpinning of something like enemies to lovers or forced proximity, where some kind of communication went wrong and two people end up in the same hotel room because somehow they both got booked at the same time, that kind of thing, which again, it just feels like such a forced thing. It's misunderstandings, miscommunications happen, but unless you've given me a really good like reason to invest in believing that, yeah, there's no reason these two people wouldn't solve this pretty quickly, then I don't know. You know, it's just it gets annoying that the two people aren't just using like basic communication skills. You're like, what's wrong with these people? Why can't they? So you have to give me some really good reasons to believe that they are miscommunicating and not fixing it somewhat quickly. So yeah, sorry, this ended up being long because I ramble, but I will put up my current bingo board. I have read 12 books now. I am in the middle of The Beautiful Ones by Sylvia Garcia Moreno. And so that'll be 13. I'm hoping to finish it before the end of the month, but I may not because I have to be a theater mom all day tomorrow. And unless I finish the book on Sunday, it's going to go into May. Oh well. Goodreads says I'm on track for the year now. I finally caught up. But we'll see how long that lasts. With all the theater stuff going on and end of the school year stuff. It's just busy. And yeah, other than that, I'm just going and going. And I hope everyone is well. We're finally getting some sun and some heat, but I think we're getting back to like 50 degrees next week. So I've got my tank top on for now, but by next week I'll be back in sweatshirts. I don't know. Just pick something and stay with it. But everything's blooming, so now everybody's allergies are the worst. So anyway, that's everything. And let me know your favorite tropes, your least favorite tropes, books that have some of these tropes that I like that maybe I haven't heard of. Recommendations of that kind. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time. Until then, take care.